$2.44 at Save On Foods in Langley.
Like, we have a
What is
serious
this?
problem here
Yeah.
in Canada. Just came to $218. How? How?
2 broccoli heads was $11.44. $11.
Crazy prices, bro. I feel you, sister. I feel my girl right here. I feel you, bro. Going to the grocery store nowadays, like $100 would go a long way. Now $100 barely gets you anything. Maybe like 5, 8 items. That's all what $100 gets you, bro. Families.
Warning. This video contains super awesome content not suitable for people who don't enjoy super awesomeness.
All right, so why is living in Canada become so impossible, bro? Like, honestly, living in Canada is so expensive. I remember back in the days when you can get a 3-bedroom apartment for like $1,500. Now, good luck finding a 1-bedroom apartment for $1,500. All right, so anyways, man, we're gonna check this video out. Let's get into this.
The skyrocketing cost of living.
I was skipping meals because I was struggling to afford my food and my rent.
2 million Canadians had to use the food bank in 1 month alone.
No wonder
part of the
crime is
problem, though?
rocketing after 8 years of Justin Trudeau.
Canada is worse than you think. Just 2 years ago, a simple 2-bedroom apartment in Toronto cost on average $2,400 Canadian dollars. Today, that's $3,300, an average increase of 25% per year, and that's not an outlier.
I just found out my rent's gonna be increased from $2,100 a month to $2,400 a month for a 1-bedroom condo in Toronto.
In most Canadian
That's
cities,
insane.
you would need to earn at least double the minimum wage to afford a 1-bedroom apartment, and you can forget about buying. In major cities like Toronto and Vancouver, the minimum income that's required to qualify for a mortgage is double or triple the median household income. This makes buying even unattainable for the top 10% of earners.
That's actually insane.
There is a housing crisis, a cost of living crisis, and now even an immigration crisis. This is a real change from the Canada I know and admire. What has happened?
It's time
Justin
for a
Trudeau
change in this country, my friends. A real change.
This is how living in Canada became impossible with hindsight.
Canadians from all across this great country sent a clear message tonight. It's time for a change in this country, my friends. A real change.
Yeah, you definitely
Justin
changed.
Trudeau was first elected in 2015 with a message of positivity.
This is what positive politics can do.
He built his campaign on hope, and the media often drew comparisons with Obama in the United States.
I want to say this. Many of you have worried that Canada has lost its compassionate and constructive voice in the world.
Bruh, I can't watch this, man. This is honestly, Canada has got a lot worse since Justin Trudeau has been in power, man. I don't understand how this guy has been in power for so long. Because the thing about it, time for a change. I remember that. I remember when he said that way back then. And the change has not been good, bro. Canada is like a dump. Like, if you go downtown Toronto, you see like camps everywhere, like homeless tents everywhere. Go downtown Vancouver, homeless tents everywhere. And let's not even talk about the immigration problem, bro. Like, this guy has let so many immigrants into this country. It's just ridiculous. And the thing about it, a lot of these immigrants, they're going on welfare, just sitting there on welfare, or they sit on social assistance, all this shit. So that, like, working Canadians now, the middle class apparently, they feel it the worst, bro. Because, like, sometimes, even me, I start thinking, like, what is the point of working when you know people who sit at home all day, they get benefits, they get money, they get rent discounts, all that stuff. For what? Like, what is the point of working anymore in this country? Like, he has punished the hardworking, the middle class, and just invited everybody in. This is just my thing. Let me know in the comments what you guys think.
Well,
I do not like this guy. And every year I vote for him. Whenever his election, I vote for someone else.
A Montreal metro station to take selfies with commuters.
This guy's a playboy.
The exchange went viral. The atmosphere was exuberant. There was a feeling of hope and positivity. Trudeau had the second highest approval rating of any new prime minister in Canada's history. To understand how his approval ratings have turned around so dramatically, why Canada is in a housing crisis, a cost of living crisis, and most surprisingly is now struggling with immigration, we need to go back in history. Canada is a nation of immigrants.
Yeah.
In the mid-1800s, the population of Canada was almost entirely concentrated on the east coast, along the St. Lawrence River and the Great Lakes. To its west and north lay a vast and sparsely populated area that they wanted to populate. They used immigration as a tool to build their country. They attracted new people with a comprehensive marketing campaign. Build your nest in Western Canada was the message, calling it the New El Dorado. Boatloads of prospective migrants arrived in Canada and were vetted by migration officers. They were particularly eager to attract talented farmers. They could help Canada's westward expansion by settling uninhabited areas. They built villages and turned them into cities, attracting commerce and industry, over time strengthening Canada's grip on the West. By 1920, population centers had emerged all along Canada's southern border. They grew from 3 million inhabitants to 9 million. These immigrants were selected on merit, but also on race. Canada wanted to maintain the status of a white man's country. But after World War II, these discriminatory practices came under scrutiny. Canada started to build its modern immigration system. This was based on a points system. Prospective immigrants were scored based on their age, education, training, and language skills. The basic philosophy is that immigrants are selected based on their merit and what they can contribute to the country. This system is still in place in Canada today, making it the oldest immigration system of any country in the OECD. An early challenge was that an increasingly large percentage of newcomers were family members. In 1971, economic migrants made up 73% and family members 21%. But a decade later, this had turned around. Family members were seen as unproductive consumers of welfare benefits, and this prompted the government to make entry requirements stricter. By 1995, the percentage had dropped to 36%. Canada vested a lot of power in the federal executive branch of government, which makes it possible to respond quickly to unwanted flows of migrants. They kept identifying weak spots and making improvements, and by the early 2000s, the system was hailed around the world as one of the best. Even Donald Trump had good things to say about it.
Nations around the world, like Canada, have a merit-based immigration system.
But what was most impressive were Canada's exceptionally high levels of public acceptance. Immigration, until recently, wasn't a controversial issue. In 2018, 2/3 of Canadians believed that immigration was a good thing for their country, the highest level of any country in the OECD. But that wouldn't last.
Because back then, before Trudeau came to power, they were using the system. Now it looks like immigrants have found a loophole, bro. They get a student visa, okay? Before they become, they're supposed to be able to afford and pay for themselves, be able to afford stuff. That's like one of the standards. I don't know. A lot of these, like, and think about it, they come from a certain country, and a lot of them are like, they say they can afford themselves, but they cannot, and then end up on the welfare system or government assistance, the same thing, whatever. And they don't do anything for the country, bro. They just sit there and take. That's so crazy. That's how Canada's become, and I feel that way. I'm an immigrant, but I've been working, my family's been working for generations. We've been working and producing and giving back to Canada. Some of these guys, they come here and they just sit on the system and they know what they get because they don't get this stuff in their countries. That's why they come to Canada. I personally think if they put a limit on like this welfare system or whatever, a lot of them would get off their ass and do something about it. Or there'll be a lot of poverty. That's what it is. But at the same time, those ones who are coming, they need to be sent back if they can't be like a help to the city, the system, right? They need to be sent back or something like that. Like, yeah, stay here for a couple of years, see how things works. If it doesn't work, you get your ass back.
Canadians are almost universally positively inclined towards immigration.
This guy's a joke, bro.
We know that immigration is a source of strength and resilience and growth for our communities, and that's a wonderful thing we should be very, very proud of.
Public opinion on immigration has shifted dramatically during the last years, from people feeling overwhelmingly supportive to most people feeling concerned. During the first 4 years under Trudeau, the population grew at a record pace, mostly because of immigration, and it slowed during the pandemic, and that's where the problem started. Canada was facing a host of challenges. One of them was a shortage of workers. There were difficulties in all major sectors, from construction to healthcare. Companies were just unable to find the people with the right skills.
It's simple to me. Canada needs more people.
This was the new Minister of Immigration.
Canadians understand.
Fire this guy too, bro.
Grow our population if we're going
Fire
to
this guy.
meet the labor force.
Fraser, like many before him, saw immigration as a tool to fix specific issues, the worker shortage, but also demographics.
You know, immigration in Canada is not just something that we do, it's who we are. It's who we've always been.
All across the Western world, the population is aging, and that is an issue. But in Canada, it is extreme. In 1971, there were 7 people of working age for each senior. In 2012, this was down to 4. The projection is that there will only be 2 workers for every retiree by 2036. The number of Canadians that are over the age of 75 will double over the next 2 decades, while fewer people are entering the workforce.
If we don't do something to correct this demographic trend, the conversation we're going to have 10 or 15 years from now won't be about labor shortages. It's going to be about whether we have the economic capacity to continue to fund schools and hospitals and public services that I think we too often take for granted.
This inspired a radical new immigration plan. In 2022, Canada had set a record population growth, and they announced to welcome 465,000 permanent residents in 2023, 485,000 in 2024, and 500,000 in 2025.
Insane, bro.
Staring at one of the greatest economic opportunities of our time.
Stupid.
When people around the world are looking to move.
And the thing about it, like, they bring them and they just stick them in like the major cities. That's the thing about it. They stick them in like what, Vancouver. They stick them in Montreal. They stick them in Toronto. It's just horrible. The thing about it, there is so much land outside like of these major cities. Why not bring them in? Yeah, bring them in, but tell them, listen, you guys come to Canada. You guys have to populate this section of Canada, this part of Canada, where it doesn't have very many people or where it needs the people. That's what they needed to do, bro. Don't just have them stuck in these major cities, because these major cities have too many people as is. And that, when you have so many people, that drives the cost of living up, bro. That drives the cost way up. Like, it's like I'm not against it. I feel like they just brought too many people. I feel like if they brought the people in, make them live in certain sections of Canada, okay? Go live in Saskatchewan. There's a whole bunch of empty land over there, okay? No one say you can't go live in Saskatchewan. There's Manitoba. Go over there, bro. There's a whole bunch of empty lots. Like, tell them go live in more northern Canada. That's cool. Start a community over there. Nobody's going to judge you. Start your community. Be part of working force, build your community and help Canada. But when you got all these immigrants in one little spot, that's when it becomes a problem, bro. That's when it becomes a problem.
Move, and Canada has become the world's top destination for people who are thinking of leaving their country of origin to pursue economic opportunity elsewhere.
They saw immigration as a race for global talent, and they had every intent on winning. Their target was to have economic migrants make up 60% of newcomers, an ambitious goal. And they particularly targeted workers in sectors with the highest demand, like healthcare, skilled trades, manufacturing, and technology. But when these plans were announced, immigration offices were already 2 million resident applications behind on their work, and there was already a shortage of housing.
When you talk about the housing crisis that we're facing, one of the limits on creating more housing is the challenges on having enough construction workers.
But Trudeau and his cabinet members saw immigration as the solution, not the problem. And in 2023, Canada's population grew with the fastest rate in almost 70 years. Oh my God. This was the fastest growing population of any country in the OECD. More extreme voices like the Century Initiative lobby to grow Canada's population to 100 million by the end of the century. The plan was endorsed by a former prime minister, and lobbyists included several advisors to Justin Trudeau and his cabinet members.
We have a population that is aging. We need people to arrive with their talents, with their hopes, with their dreams, with their capacities to work hard, to build our communities, to build our future.
Public opinion was shifting. Whereas in 2022, 27% of people believed that there was too much migration to Canada. In 2023, this was up to 51%.
Oh my God,
and
that's a problem, bro.
To 58%.
It's just gonna go higher because people can't get jobs.
Well, behind me is the Take Back Canada March against mass immigration.
Yeah.
In July 2024, there were protests.
There's a lot of disaffected Canadians here who feel like the government has not been listening to them.
This was an unusual sight in Canada.
And what happens to the election in 2025? Is mass immigration going to become the main issue in the election, or are politicians going to try to run away from it like they seem to be doing right now?
Yeah.
In 2025, there are federal elections in Canada, and Trudeau might lose his seat.
2 broccoli heads was $11.44. $11.
Crazy prices, bro. I feel you, sister. I feel my girl right here. I feel you, bro. Going to the grocery store nowadays, like $100 would go a long way. Now $100 barely gets you anything. Maybe like 5, 8 items. That's all what $100 gets you, bro. Families, I feel bad for families, especially my family. Feel bad for them, man. Groceries every week is at least $300 a week, bro. And that's cheap. Okay, that's considered cheap. That's us penny pinching.
$44 at Save on Foods in Langley.
Like, we have a
What is
serious
this?
problem here in Canada. Just came to $218. How? How?
The government likes to publish figures that show how the economy is growing. This is technically true, but the growth is primarily fueled by a growing population. Per capita growth is down, along with individual living standards.
This apartment is 750 square feet, and I pay $4,300 a month.
I believe
working 3 jobs just to live in this city.
Yeah.
It's actually crazy, and they're still struggling to pay their bills.
There is a
Facts. You see, this is why, bro. This is why. Like, more and more, for me, I've been leaving Canada a lot, okay? Like, I'm just putting out, I've been leaving Canada, I've been traveling a lot, and I'm just trying to figure out where I might see myself in the next 5 years, okay? Because I can't see myself staying in Canada if this cost of living keeps going up. Because when you go to, like, Europe, I've been to Europe. Europe's pretty expensive, okay? I won't lie. But the Philippines, you go to, like, Thailand, all these places. These places, man, for like foreigners or people outside who have like jobs online, or they have some kind of jobs in Canada or USA, if you go live there, bro, the cost of living is so much cheaper. And if you open a business over there, it's so much better. Like, honestly, you can go rent a nice ass condo in the Philippines, like 3 bedrooms, not 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, nice area, BGC, for like $500 to like $700 a month, with gym, pool, all that stuff. Bro, you can never find that here in Canada. Never. At least you're paying 4 times that cost. So, like, what is the point of staying in Canada anymore, man? What is the point? Especially the major cities? Ridiculous.
Mismatch between how fast Canada's population is growing and how long they need to supply housing and service
Build more houses, baby.
Healthcare and schools. This affects all layers of...
Oh my God, another thing too. One of the other problems too is the condos, bro. Like, what? Why are they building so many condos? Like, what happened to building like rental properties? They need to start building more rental properties and stop building these damn condos. Like, for real. Like, doesn't the government see what the problem is? All these condos, they want people to buy condos, and these condos like $500, almost like $1 million, maybe even more, and yet they got condo fees on top of that. So, like, what is the point of buying a condo? Like, turn all these condos into rental. That's it. Or whoever has, if these condos are empty, they gotta like drop these prices down, bro. Honestly, drop the prices way down and tell them, I'm sorry, either or tax them high. Like, if you have condos, tax them high or something like that. If you're not rented out, and like give them. I think they should give also, you know, because I feel the condo people. When you buy a condo, you think you'll make money off it. At the same time, they should, you know, give them some kind of discount, you know, like maybe like less taxes at the end of the year, like your mortgage, your what's that? Your end of the year taxes when you pay for your property tax. Maybe give them a little less if they're renting it. If they're renting it out, that's what I feel like they should do.
Society, but this is most acutely visible in the cost of housing.
Okay, we need to talk rent increases because this is getting out of hand.
Would you pay $800 a month to share a bed with a stranger?
Yeah, I saw that.
This Vancouver listing is offering.
The most vulnerable people are people with little to spare, like students. a story broke about 25 students that were living in one basement in Brampton, and it went viral. The mayor of the city responded that they've seen cases like these on a regular basis.
Like this landlord who's renting out 6 beds on the floor with dividers between them for $325 each.
The number of temporary residents, which includes temporary workers but also international students, have increased dramatically.
And that's what it is too. Like, the thing about it, like, a lot of these students that come to Canada, students, you guys know what I'm talking about. Those students, they're comfortable, they're okay with living in these basements, 8, 10 people in the basement, 25 people in the basement. Because back in their home countries, they're used to living like that. But the thing about it, when they live like that, that is why it jacks up the prices and everything else. You know, that's just crazy.
In 2022, they numbered 1.4 million. And in 2024, this had doubled to 2.8 million. Public opinion had now turned against Canadian immigration policies, and for the first time, it had become a controversial topic. Trudeau, with elections coming up,
you're done.
Act.
Bro, he's done.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is promising a massive federal program to deal with the housing crisis in Canada.
So
today, we are releasing the most comprehensive and ambitious housing plan ever seen in Canada.
He put Sean Fraser, former Minister of Immigration, in charge of housing.
I know we're going to solve the housing crisis because I know what Canadians are capable of.
These decisions were vilified in the comment section on YouTube. It's crazy that people believe the guy that got us into this mess is the guy that's going to get us out. Too little, too late. You cannot be the solution to the problem you created.
The reality is different parts of the country have seen different challenges. In addition to population growth, there have been supply chain constraints that have driven up the cost of building. We're trying to address a 30-year lack of investment in affordable housing, and we're soon going to hit a bottleneck with the productive capacity of the Canadian workforce to build the homes we need.
Fraser is in an awkward position. Perhaps letting in 9 million new Canadians before homes were built for them had a little to do with this problem. A majority of people now disagreed with immigration policies. They were angry and frustrated by the cost of living crisis, and immigrants felt that they were unfairly portrayed as the cause of the problem.
They miscalculated the how much immigrants they want.
Yep, that's the thing about it too. No, that's why I said I feel bad for some of them. They got brought into this country. Thinking it was going to be better. And even a lot of these immigrants are sleeping on the ground outside, bro. Like, a lot of them are sleeping on the ground. So it comes down to it, they just let too many of them in. They let too many of them without building proper homes or having jobs secured for them. Because trust me, I see a lot of them at Tim Hortons, a lot of them at Walmart, taking the jobs that were meant for, like, students and stuff like that. Like my daughter, bro. My daughter, she couldn't get a job all summer. Very disappointed. And it's hard because there's no more student jobs. There's no more jobs for students. A lot of these immigrants have to live off these student jobs, and they become full-time jobs. That's what's crazy to me. I remember growing up when these jobs were considered part-time jobs because I was in high school, and high school students used to work at these jobs. Now you go to like Walmart, all No Frills, any of these retail stores, you're seeing grown-ass people working there. You don't barely see any more students. Like, yeah, you'll see some students, but you barely see students. And the thing about it, it's mostly the immigrants that's taking the jobs.
They miscalculated how much housing they have, how much they could accommodate over here, and now they are blaming all it on us.
Trudeau's approval rating dropped in September 2024 to just 33%, and only 26% favored him as the Prime Minister. He had to turn this around.
Can he?
Bonjour tout le monde. Good morning, everyone. In a moment, Minister Miller will be detailing our immigration plan. Before he does, I want to say a few things. Canadians are justifiably proud of our immigration system. It has made our economy the envy of the world. It's how we've built strong, diverse communities. It's how we've demonstrated that differences can and must be a source of strength, not a source of weakness for communities and society. Today, we're announcing that we will reduce the number of immigrants we bring in over the next 3 years. which will result in a pause in the population growth over the next 2 years.
Trudeau announced that they'll change course. They'll lower the number of new arrivals to slow population growth. He admitted he was wrong.
We didn't get the balance quite right.
When he took office, there was already a 3-decade-long lack of investment in affordable housing. There were building challenges and supply chain issues, but as PM, he bears the burden of responsibility. It was his choice to allow entry to such large numbers of immigrants, growing the population and adding pressure to the housing market.
Ridiculous.
The affordability of housing and the cost of living in general are very visible signs of a deteriorating living standard. In 2019, 19% of Canadians felt that Canada was extremely unequal. That is now up to 38%.
Yep.
To the question whether the cost of living is now worse, the number rose from 66% in 2019 to 84% in 2024.
Of course.
And I'm still just scratching the surface. Canada, this was a real change. I hope that you learned something or found this video.
It was. Oh my God, Trudeau did promise a real change, bro. He brought a real change. So, you know, change did happen. And I gotta say, I'm one of those people who are like, I'm very disappointed. Like, I love this country. I grew up in this country. My family's immigrants to this country. But the country's not the same. Not the same at all. To the point where I want to leave this country. And I feel like there's plenty of other Canadians that want to leave this country. And like, what is the point of staying in Canada when things are so expensive? Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments down below. Do you love Canada? Canada still your home? Or are you disappointed? Or do you think Mr. Trudeau has truly destroyed the country? Comments. Catch you guys later. Bye.